Pete Thamel just tweeted, Colorado's in discussions with the Big 12. Literally can't make it up.
Well, you know what? I think it's interesting. I had a conversation with a source, and let me see if I can clip that for you. Pete Thamel says, sources, Colorado is in discussions about a move to the Big 12, and the school has just completed a board meeting and scheduled another for tomorrow to discuss the move. The Big 12 is also holding a president's meeting tonight where there is expected to be an expansion update. I can tell you, talking to sources really in the TV industry and beyond, Colorado has always been the one who's most likely to jump. And as we have said, I won't believe it until I see it. But if it is at all surprising to you that Colorado is having discussions today about moving to the Big 12 from the Pac-12, I think you've just had your head in the sand. And we have tried to explain this to 1,001 people. And mostly Utah fans, but many fans tend to get upset about the fact that you have real substantive discussions going on between Pac-12 members and Brett Yormark and his committees and his people. But here's the question that I ask you. Why wouldn't you, if you're Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, Oregon State, Washington State, Stanford and Cal, why wouldn't you talk to Brett Yormark and his staff? I've never understood this dominant perspective that never, ever.
Like it's criminal.
And it's just the destruction of the conference. Nothing else could be further from the truth. In fact, you should be terminated if you do not take his call.
Mm-hmm.
Should be terminated. We talked about this yesterday on the show. We've talked about this for months. We've told you just about every school in this conference has admitted on the record or off that they have spoken to Brett Yormark, as they should. This is not surprising. And when you look at what's going on at Colorado, they have now scheduled a full public board meeting tomorrow, and let me update you. They have to do it in public.
Mm-hmm.
The meeting today was a behind closed door executive session. They have to do this in public. So they had their private session today. They will have their public session tomorrow. And this should be of no surprise. Are you now more in the camp, Jake, that Colorado's leaving? Like, where do you come down on this?
Well, I'm now definitely in the camp that, we've been proper and right with Colorado. We've been telling you that Colorado, should be talking to the Big 12, and then secondarily would be a good fit back in the Big 12. And I think that, again, there's a lot happening in Colorado. There's no question about it. Like when you look at, Deion Sanders' first year as their head football coach. I mean, that's timing wise. When you look at, okay, if they were to go to the Big 12, next year, let's say, that's a hell of a move for what would be a second year head coach. So when I look at what we're getting out of Pete Thamel, when I look, and see that there's a public meeting tomorrow, like, yeah, this is the process. This is the process. This is the way they have to do it. There's no surprises here. At the same time, I'm with you when you say I'll believe it when I see it, because I do think it's a huge move. I do think we're no longer just talking about the Pac-12. I think we're talking about college football in the big picture, because, again, this has always been the conversation. I mean, for the people who have been listening to this show, Grum, for, the better part of 6 months now or a year, let's say, we've talked at length about, okay, if the Pac-12 were to melt down, not that I'm saying I think it will, but if it were to melt down, this would really be the first time we've seen a Power 5, big boy conference collapse. And I'm not saying if Colorado leaves that's going to happen, but what I am for sure saying is that if Colorado were to go to the Big 12, that is the first step to a conference collapsing, because now the door is open hey, Colorado's gone. All right, now is Jed Fish in Arizona leaving? Now does that then mean that ASU is leaving? And by the way, now that the Big 12 is adding Pac-12 schools, does that mean the Big 10 is out for Oregon and Washington, Stanford, and Cal? That's what starts to happen. That's why I say, hey, yeah, this is the process they have to follow. But in my mind goes right to, okay, big picture conference health. Because if one team leaves, that opens the door to big time departures.
And there is the meeting on the calendar at Colorado. There is no agenda posted as yet. This is the Colorado Board of Regents will hold a special board meeting. They are saying that this will be a Zoom meeting, and all of the public are welcome. It is a public meeting from 3 to 4. I can tell you right now, just getting a landfall of text messages. Not to be covert about this, but one of our best sources in television says that Colorado has had substantive talks with Brett Yormark over the last 10 months, and 10 months, including before Deion Sanders was hired, and that Colorado and the Big 12 have talked on nearly a daily basis for the last 2 weeks, and that Brett Yormark has extended an opportunity to go to the Big 12 and is expected tomorrow that this will be the subject matter. It is not clear if tomorrow there will be an announcement post-meeting, but it sure does seem like this has been a lot in the making, and you see this graphic here. And again, there is no, I am looking right at the site. There is no agenda posted for this meeting. And as soon as they post one, I will grab it for you. But Jake, I think there is no doubt in my mind that you are looking at Colorado now. And I apologize. 1,001 people are texting me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the situation is pretty clear here, right? I mean, based on what the information we're getting, literally as you're watching the show, the behavior we've seen out of Colorado the last 10 months or year, as I like to say, it's pretty clear. I mean, again, changing conferences doesn't happen overnight, right? And I think that to change a conference, you got to build a relationship. And I think that relationship obviously was there before when Colorado was in the Big 12. Obviously new commissioner, some things have changed, right? But you still have those ties in a sense. And I think that was, to me, that was always the sort of starting point. Hey, we were there before. Would we be open to going back again? Anytime you've done it once, you're open to doing it again. And I think once you start to understand just how effective Brett Yormark is and just how not effective your current situation and your current commissioner is, I think it becomes a much more attractive proposition. I mean, and again, we've taken a lot of heat on this show for talking about the idea and the concept that, hey, all these schools are talking to Brett Yormark. And everyone's like, no, you guys, getting told the other day on the phone that, we're irresponsible and we don't know what the hell we're talking about. And, we're just the hacks on YouTube. Only to have it come out that they've been talking for 10 months, that they built a relationship, that now they're going to have a public meeting tomorrow. Like it's wild. The ball wild. Is rolling down the yellow brick road.
And again, this is in real time. Just reading my text messages. This person has information that it's now a formality pending the procedural process
that they will go.
That they will go to the Big 12.
Well,
and and you guys can go, if you just go to Google search Colorado Board of Regents, you will see that there are they have a calendar where you can look at all the agendas and all the meetings. And the agenda for today is posted, but there is no agenda posted for tomorrow. And I will, again, keep this up to date. You guys, I think now it is a very real time to ask. If you look at the title of the show today, we've been hearing this and we've been getting drips of information over the last 24 hours that this was the inevitable. So here's my question. Is the Pac-12 now facing a mass exodus? Because if this is indeed the case, and if Colorado truly leaves the conference a year from now, and if we hear tomorrow after this meeting, which is now 23 hours away, it is scheduled for 3 o'clock Mountain tomorrow, a public meeting. And I want to stress this. This is a hugely important detail. Colorado cannot do anything without a public meeting. They had an executive session, a non-public meeting today. They have to, in order to take action, do these things out in the light, which is a public meeting. They now have it scheduled for tomorrow. There is no agenda at this point.
Facts.
But our sources are telling us, and Pete Thamel is tweeting about this now. I believe Brett McMurphy is tweeting about this now, that Colorado is, in fact, going through the procedural motions of moving to the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big fucking deal. This changes everything. This changes the shape and the landscape of the conference. I think if if there is a vote tomorrow, if there is a vote by the end of the week, if there is an announcement by the end of the week, which now would not be surprising, you have to really worry about a landslide. And one of the things that I will point you to, and Jake, I know we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
Look at the way, you guys, the narrative has changed. Look at John Wilner in the San Jose Mercury News. This is I think hit piece is strong. This headline is attached to an article that is 100% anti-Colorado. Negative. Liberals in California, like super negative. But look at the headline. John Wilner, Pac-12 survival, Colorado's conundrum, and the unique challenges facing the unique challenge of a bolder existence. Look at the radio wizard behind the curtain in Portland. Colorado getting a test of its patience with the Pac-12. Lots of pressure on them from the inside and outside, which I can tell you is absolutely not true. Colorado, the idea that outside forces are pressuring Colorado is, I can tell you, 100% not true.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even begin to think of an outside force that would be pressuring them.
Well, what this is, and what the Pac-12 talking heads are trying to allude to, is that there are people who are trying to pressure Colorado to stay. I can tell you, Colorado 4 months, and I know that, again, as you said, we've gotten crushed by every Pac-12 fan every time we say this. Colorado, this is not new for this isn't a couple of weeks ago. This isn't related to, and I know that this, again, pisses everybody off. Colorado to the Big 12 is not related to the last 12 months of TV strife. Colorado hired Deion Sanders, in many people's opinion, to get to the Big 12. They knew, because of their dreadful performance in athletics, that they would need a game changer. So what did they do? They hired Deion Sanders, but how did they hire Deion Sanders? By agreeing to completely change the admittance process for athletics.
Yeah.
Which Phil DiStefano, the chancellor at Colorado, did.
And give him credit.
And absolutely give him credit. Because I think that this is a very rare occasion. And I hope everybody understands this as well. This is an incredibly rare occasion. An incredibly rare occasion. And you are seeing it play out in front of your eyes. When you mismanage and are not, and I'm being careful because I don't want to say that George Kliavkoff, in my opinion, has lied to his constituents. But when you are not forthcoming and you are not honest with your constituents about the process in the TV negotiations, and I don't believe for a second, in my opinion, that George Kliavkoff took every offer he got to the executive committee. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I have heard it multiple times, but I don't believe that he tabled every offer he got.
Yeah.
And I think today, this Colorado news today is bigger, and it feels bigger because this is a culmination of, I think, 10 months. This is the culmination since, go back and watch our show last August.
Yeah.
Go back and watch our show last September. Go back and watch our shows in October. We've been talking about this. This conference is not aligned. They are not together. When you hear George Kliavkoff talking about how, hey, everybody's in lockstep. Bullshit, they're not.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody is committed to this conference. They're not.
Congratulations, but that's bullshit.
They're not. And I can tell you that you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of leeway now. Because while I don't for a second believe, and I think we've debated this on the show as well, I don't for a second believe that Colorado leaving is a death knell for this conference.
What do you believe?
But here's the problem that I have with Colorado leaving the Pac-12. I think they take Arizona with them. And if Arizona goes, Arizona State's going to have a very difficult time making the case to the Arizona Board of Regents that they should stay and Arizona should go. And while the Arizona Board of Regents cannot stop those two, Arizona and Arizona State, from acting autonomously or separately, it'd be really foolish for Arizona and Arizona State to act independently. They're a strong, strong voice in any conference when they are together and aligned. And right now, frankly, they are not. They are not together and aligned. Arizona State wants to stay in the conference, and I believe wholeheartedly, and Jed Fish confirmed it, and Bobby Robbins confirmed it, essentially, they're not committed to the Pac-12. They're committed to what's best for you, Arizona. And you can't blame them for that. But I'll also say, non-coincidentally, Jake almost, had a Mitch McConnell moment today. Okay, too soon?
Yeah, too
Probably
soon.
my bad.
Yeah, Buddy almost died.
No, he did not. Jake almost lost himself over this picture right here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys understand what this picture is? This is the Ohio State Buckeyes mascot on Instagram. Verified account. 30,000 followers.
Yeah.
Well, why is the Buckeye at Autzen Stadium with the Oregon Duck? And why does the caption on this say big things coming? Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think if you've listened to this show for more than 12 seconds, you know that.
Great, because I am.
That's your hucklebearer right there.
I'm right here, everybody.
That's your
I'm
boy.
right here.
But this now seems a little suspect.
Infowars.com.
And again, not if you're new to the show, I'm going to tell you what I've reported in the past about Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal going to the Big Ten, because I think this is a significant moment in time. We got news, and forgive me because now I can't remember who reported it, that Oregon and Washington had been vetted and cleared to join the Big Ten. We didn't know what that meant either. So we started calling our sources in television. And we were told point blank, it's not Oregon and Washington. Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal were viewed as a package by the Big Ten. And the Big Ten vetted and cleared those four with its TV partners. And what that means is they went to Fox, CBS, and NBC, and really, based on the way the contract is written, they went to CBS and they went to NBC, and they said, hey, are you willing to pay more money if we are able to add Stanford and Cal, Oregon and Washington?
Yes.
CBS and NBC, I am told, with excitement, said, yes, absolutely, we will do that. And I am told, and we reported on the show, months ago now, I guess. Months ago now.
It was, off the top of my head, I think it was somewhere around March, I believe that was. Something like that.
Months ago. That the only thing that the Big Ten was waiting for was Tony Petitti, their commissioner, who, by the way, comes from NBC, TV guy. They were waiting for him to get his feet on the ground, and they were waiting for the Pac-12 situation to either resolve itself or present an opportunity. And now, I don't necessarily believe that you're a conspiracy theorist, because you look at this picture now and it feels a little more serious.
Yeah, my big picture thing here, the point that I want to make is that everybody in all the P5 conferences, and let's throw out the ACC because they're not really involved in this, in my opinion, but certainly the Big Ten and the Big 12 have been waiting for the door to open. And that door opening is one of the Pac-12 schools making a decision to leave, right? Because, again, nobody wanted to be seen as a, quote, raider of the Pac-12. We heard that, too, earlier this year. If you remember, sometime, again, around that March, April timeline, we were told that nobody wanted to be seen as the conference or the commissioner or the admin office of a conference that was going out and basically poaching schools from other conferences and being an asshole about it, for lack of a better term. And so everybody's been waiting. But while they've been waiting, what's been happening? Well, they've all been talking behind the scenes. So when I hear, hey, Colorado and Brett Yormark have been talking for 10 months, I'm not surprised, right? Because, again, to switch conferences, you got to form relationships. You have to get structure in place. You got to get planning in place. And then you can execute, executive meetings today and public meetings tomorrow. So when I look at the Pac-12, and then I see the Pac-12 situation with Colorado going to the Big 12, and then I see the official account, verified 30,000 followers, like he said, of the Buckeyes mascot at Autzen with Oregon's mascot, that to me, and again, just my opinion, could be way off, that to me is a confirmation that the Big Ten is waiting for the Pac to begin to crumble. And that it is possible, not saying it's going to happen, but it is possible that we could see Colorado, the Arizona schools, and hopefully, right, I'd love to see Utah in that group, jump to the Big 12, the 4 up north go to the Big 10, and the Pac-12's done. Because I just think it's too swift, it's too easy, it's too logical, it makes too much sense, right? TV partners are on board. The schools are on board. Like, there's nothing, like, why wouldn't you? What's standing in the way? Why would you not go and make more money? Why would you not build stronger relationships? Why would you not put yourself in a better position to succeed? And so the only question for me really remains, hey, what does a school like Oregon State in this scenario do? What does Washington State do? That's really, for me, in my opinion, the only question that remains at this point. If tomorrow or in the next, whatever, coming days, Colorado goes to the Big 12. Because once that happens, once we get that announcement, I think you're going to see an avalanche of movement, because I think that's the first thing that needs to happen. So, yeah.
Okay, sorry. I am told this source of mine that I am texting with is telling me that the executive committee, the chancellor's office, the athletic director, and all heads of departments in sports concur with a move to the Big 12. Yeah. So they're aligned on it. There is no question that they are aligned on it. There is no question that this meeting tomorrow is a big deal. And if you're just tuning in, we have breaking news for you today. Colorado, the Board of Regents met in an executive session today to discuss moving to the Big 12, leaving the Pac-12 to move to the Big 12. Our sources are telling us that they have scheduled a Board of Regents meeting for tomorrow to discuss this in open session, which is a mandatory step, a mandatory procedural step. They must do this. If they want to move, they have to talk about it in a public session. That is now scheduled for tomorrow. I see it on the schedule. There is not an agenda posted as yet. I continue to look for that, but that is not posted. The latest agenda is for today's executive session meeting. But again, we have it on their calendar. A special board meeting is scheduled for tomorrow at 3 o'clock Mountain Time. And again, I just want to reiterate, I think if Colorado goes, it is not the end of the world for the Big 12 or the Pac-12. It becomes problematic, and it becomes advantageous for the Big 12, problematic for the Pac-12 if Arizona makes that jump as well. If Colorado is somehow able to, and it's funny because we've kept in touch with the folks at Utah. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Utah is going to make the move. At least not in this first round, because we've also been told by sources in the conference that it won't just be one team that goes.
Yeah.
It will not. I think if you are Bobby Robbins right now, and one of the questions I'm trying to get an answer to is, are you telling me that Colorado has informed the Pac-12 that they are doing this? And I was told that there is no Pete Thamel now confirming exactly what I told you 5 minutes ago. Colorado is in discussions about leaving the Pac-12 for the Big 12. There is a just completed board meeting and one scheduled for tomorrow on the topic. There is Big 12 presidents meeting tonight, which will cover expansion per our sources. That's exactly what we told you 5 minutes ago.
So they're both on the. So do you guys see what I mean when I say, hey, it's all organized and it's all moving properly, right? This is a well-oiled machine. They're executing the steps. The Big 12's ready to go. We're ready. Like there's just nothing here that says, nope, this isn't going to work. And so my only question again is, hey, tomorrow if they announce they're going to the Big 12, what comes of recent board member addition of the Pac-12, Bobby Robbins at Arizona? Right? Like, what do we get out of these other schools?
Very interesting. I'm also being told to keep an eye on Oregon State. That Oregon State has had deep discussions with Brett Yormark's team about moving to the Big 12. The Big 12 has a preference to take a single group of teams, not to double dip, to use the language of the source I'm talking to.
Brett McMurphy also tweeting on this just now, 2 minutes ago, says, obviously there's a meeting tomorrow, expected to discuss and approve a move to the Big 12. It's 98%, a source of his told him.
Yeah, I mean, this is...
It's going around now.
This is procedural.
Yeah.
This is, and not that, again, I'm not telling you, hey, we're always right. You guys are always assholes. I'm not telling you that. But we've been telling you this for a while. This is procedural now. And I think I will maintain what I've been saying. Let's wait until it happens. Because that's the only time I'm going to believe it, when this actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to turn a nose to turn a nose down to this now. It is difficult. And I think the Pac-12, and again, this is why we titled the show this, I think the Pac-12 is in real jeopardy now.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, and I've asked another TV source of mine, I just have not heard back yet, does this paralyze the Pac-12's current negotiations with its TV partners?
Well, doesn't it have to? I mean, again, that's the other disadvantage here. Because remember, just generally speaking, right, no matter what the conference is, anytime you add or subtract schools from that current agreement, you got to renegotiate, right? You got to reapprove or just like re-up the agreement. So I'm sitting here as you're giving us this information, thinking about what have we seen the last week in the Pac-12? Well, we saw George Kliavkoff's performance at Media Day, which did not go well. For those of you who haven't seen it, go find it, or we can play some again or whatever. But that didn't go well. I think about, the call that we got from a certain individual yesterday that told us, hey, you guys are irresponsible with what you're reporting. You guys are hating on the Pac-12 or whatever. And now, the very next day, pretty much everything we've been saying, and again, not to be that guy, but everything we've been saying about Colorado and some of these other schools is starting to come true. And so I almost feel like yesterday at the conference, they were doing damage control because they knew this meeting was today, and they know the meeting's tomorrow, and they can see what's happening. So, yeah, I think the TV contract, to be honest with you, is the least of their problems. I wonder now if the struggle with getting the TV deal done has simply been that schools like Colorado or, an Oregon State or an Arizona have put this thing on ice because they're trying to vet an opportunity. And I have to say, I can't blame them. Once again, why would you turn down an opportunity to be in a better situation? Why deal with this? Why deal with the yapping dog, in my opinion, and George Kliavkoff and the whole situation when you can get to a better conference with better leadership and more prosperous future?
Yeah,
Why would you not do
that? I don't know. So, again, because I see a lot of people jumping on the show, our sources have told us that it is... And clearly people are watching the show because another source tells me, Monty, it's not 98%. It's done. I am telling you it's procedural.
Okay. Well, there you go.
That's a pretty good, that's a high place source. I think it is one of those things where you have to figure out I think you have to figure out if you're the Pac-12 how to react to this.
And by the way, we've never seen this in college football. The threat of a conference dying.
Yeah,
I think people understand that.
I think we are very close to that because, you look at the fact that Colorado has been given, according to our source, a verbal invitation. Mm-hmm. And you look at the fact that, and still no agenda posted, Pete Thamel tweeting again. ESPN spoke to Colorado AD Rick George on Tuesday. He declined to comment. And one of the things that's interesting is what we talk about Rick George on last Friday. What did Rick George do last Friday at Pac-12 Media Day?
Peace out.
He left. He did not talk to the media, did not want to talk to the media.
Pack everything up. We're out of here.
Our sources have told us that over the last 10 to 14 days, Colorado and the Big 12 have had much more substantial, fruitful conversations about getting this done. There are a lot of people who are saying that, hey, this is because of George Kliavkoff's performance at Pac-12 Media Day. It was not. It was. My sourcing has not confirmed that. I don't believe that's the case. I think this is a 10-month-long process. I think this has been something that they have been talking to Deion Sanders about since before they hired him. I think they have been talking to George Kliavkoff since at least October, in my opinion. I think that's where this goes back to. I think that this is simply a matter of procedure, and they have been trying to wait and wait because, again, I will say, and I know people are going to lose their shit over it, but the truth is the truth. Nobody wants to leave this conference. It is not financially a windfall for Colorado to jump to the Big 12 by any stretch. But depending on what this TV deal could be or would have been, it would have been close. I think the issue is that Colorado is just burned out. They regret leaving the Big 8 at the time, Big 12, all those years ago, 2011?
Yeah.
I think they are much like Nebraska, who has voiced frustration and has undoubtedly regretted leaving the Big 12 for the Big 10, and everybody says, well, look at all the money they've made, and they are irrelevant.
Yeah.
Nobody knows about Nebraska. And Matt Rule may change that, I don't know. But Colorado has been working for, I think, the better part of the last 10 months, according to my sources, to get this done. I think Deion Sanders was a huge part of that. I can tell you, I talked to people around Christmas time who have said, hey, Colorado knows what it needs to do to get into the Big 12. I think they've done everything you would like them to do. They have invested in infrastructure. They have changed their academic standards. They have hired Deion Sanders. They have absolutely changed their narratives. And I think one of the things that was important to Brett Yormark in this situation, and I tried to get confirmation from people in the Big 12 on this, but obviously they're not talking about it. Brett Yormark wants nothing to do with, the negative and screw the Pac-12 and George Kliavkoff's an asshat, or he wants nothing to do with that. I think what you're going to see, if it's just Colorado or if it's multiple teams in the conference, they're going to tip their cap to the Pac-12. Hey, we tried. It was a great experience for us, but we have to do what we have to do to secure our future. We have to do what's best for our students and our staff and our universities. I think that's the message you're going to hear, because I'm told that this is scripted and this is exactly what Brett Yormark wants. He does not want animus, and I will go back to what I said about the Big Ten. The Big Ten does not want to be seen as that conference that gutted the Pac-12, and they take those 4 teams, and all of a sudden there's an avalanche of teams to the Big 12. The Big Ten wanted nothing to do with that. But I would note also that Oregon State is a team and a university we have talked about on this show for months and months. And I have told you, watch Oregon State. They are in the Pacific time zone. They give you brand new football facilities. This is already a really strong basketball conference in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Brett Yormark, I think, wants to add to football, and then I think he will add Gonzaga as well, who we have exclusively reported on this show already has a verbal invite, but they did not want to make that move when that invite was given. I'm telling you, this is the beginning. It's not the end. And I think you're going to see, my guess would be, by the end of this week, which is obviously today is Wednesday, by Friday close of business, I think Colorado's in the Big 12. I think there's a real good chance Arizona comes with, and I would really keep an eye. I'd really keep an eye on Oregon State.
And I think this concept of conferences or institutions saving face is real. I think that conferences don't want to. They want to expand. They obviously want to make more money, as much money as possible, but they want to do it in the right way. They want to do it in the a way that is keeps them in a good light, a positive light. They don't want to be seen as a destroyer or a negative influencer. They want to be able to say, hey, well, like with the Big Ten as an example. Well, we didn't start the destruction of the Pac-12.
That's not
right?
me.
Like I didn't like the bomb that ended the conference. Right? That was Brett. Ask Brett about that, not Tony.
But again, I also think they're not to kill the Big 12 buzz that's clearly going around right now, but this is a tragedy, man. Like, this is a shocking end to the current incarnation of the Pac-12. If you think about what this conference should have been all those years ago, this is a shocking, shocking end. And talking to sources in the TV industry, a lot of sources have said they lost ESPN when they would not make a deal at the end of Larry Scott's tenure with Google or with DirecTV, because it was thought that DirecTV had acquiesced a little bit and Larry had a deal in place and the Pac-12 wouldn't do it. Larry wouldn't close that deal. Yeah. Because Larry Scott had autonomy to do whatever he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And he chose not to do that. And I think that's where all of this, if this happens with Colorado by Friday, and I think it will, I think that's where this started.
And I do agree this is a culmination of 10 years of just awful decision-making.
And frustration.
I think it's everything from the penthouses and private jets with Larry Scott to George Kliavkoff continuing to embarrass the conference with public speaking. Yes. And again, I tend to agree. If you take commissioners out of it and you just look at pure football and you look at geography, this had potential to be like I have no problem saying the Pac-12 should have been a better conference than the SEC, in my opinion. You have better geography. You have strong brands. If you had good leadership, you would be able to overtake. You would be able to put yourself right at the top of the stack of the Power Fives. But what's held them back? The leadership pool in the Pac-12, the arrogance, the pride, right? Everything from saying no to BYU to not doing deals with ESPN or DirecTV and Google. And then on top of that, all the real estate issues. Like, there's a whole laundry list of bad decision making here that ultimately has taken down or is in the process of taking down, right? To be accurate, a conference that really should be a juggernaut in the space, and it's really. I know there's probably a lot of you who are like, well, look, this is kind of what they deserve. This is what they had coming to them. This is kind of like the inevitability of the Pac-12. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. But on the other side of the coin, I think you have to understand that we've never seen this in college football. We've never seen a P5 just melt down, just dissolve into thin air. And I think the Pac-12 is very close to that because I don't think it takes much. At this point, Colorado essentially being gone, all but procedural, them being gone, Arizona and ASU potentially following right behind them, and we're hearing smoke and rumors around Oregon State. I mean, that's 4 teams right there, and we haven't even gotten to Oregon and Washington yet. Do you understand what I'm saying? We haven't even gotten to the most premier brands in your conference. So for me, I just think, again, Colorado is the door opening, right? Arizona and ASU would be the other door opening, and then everyone's going to walk through it.
Well, I have a little more breaking news for you as well about this situation in the Pac-12. I am told that Oregon, Arizona, and Oregon State all have now scheduled Board of Trustees meetings for tomorrow or Friday. I am working to confirm that. I honestly don't know how. I don't know how you find. And let's see, people are DMing me. Let's
Chaos.
see. Let's see. We'll see we'll see what happens. But Oregon, in fact, does have a public meeting scheduled for tomorrow, Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You see what I mean?
But they do have subject matter listed on their website. And I can tell you, I'm looking at their website right now, and I will screen grab this. It has nothing to do with the conference. Authority to expand facilities, related resources at Portland campuses. Like, this is turning into a thing now. And I don't know if this Oregon meeting, I am told that Arizona is going to have an emergency session. Here is this is right off of the Oregon notice of public meeting. There it is right there. Thank you, Lopes fan Gabe, who also thank you, Terry, who sent that to me as well. This is where you start worrying about a landslide.
Yep.
This is where you start worrying about, and it's odd that that's the title of the show today.
Yeah, again, remember, just because I just want to make this clear. We titled the show and did the thumbnail and set up the show at like 1:00 Mountain, and what Pete Thamel tweeted 15 minutes ago. So it's funny how the momentum is clearly here. I still maintain we haven't reached the peak of this conversation.
No, we have not.
I think the peak of this conversation, is the aftermath. So once we get clarity on who all is leaving, and I maintain it's a lot. It's most of the conference, in my opinion. No one's told us that, but in my opinion, I think most of the conference is going to leave once Colorado makes it official. That's the peak of the conversation, because now we're not talking about San Diego State and SMU. And by the way, I just have to say, and I know we're past the San Diego State thing. This makes San Diego State look even worse, in my opinion. You were trying to get involved with a conference that now seemingly is on the verge of burning to the ground.
Yeah, this is a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a good look. And so that's why I say, Gloria Navarez, I think it was earlier today, did an interview where she basically said that we're past the days of any team being married up to a conference for decades at a time. And I don't necessarily agree with Gloria on that. I think teams are married to conferences that do business the right way and do it in a way that benefits their member institutions as often as possible. Yeah. The Pac-12 doesn't do that. The ACC certainly doesn't do that, but the Big Ten does that. The SEC does that, and the Big 12 is certainly doing that now.